The palace lights were calm and soft that night. High above the alien capital, the Queen's tower stood tall and silent. Guards watched the halls, weapons ready, eyes sharp. Everyone believed the palace was safe. They were wrong. A soft sound broke the silence. Not an alarm, not a scream. A shadow moved across the ceiling. The first guard fell without a sound. Red blood touched the white floor. Inside the royal chamber, the Queen stood near her child. The child was small, weak, and scared of the dark. The Queen touched the child's head and smiled. Then the lights went out. Darkness swallowed the room. The air changed. It felt cold, heavy. The Queen turned. 6 figures stepped from the shadows. Their armor was black. Their eyes glowed red. Each one held a long, thin knife. Assassins. The child screamed. Guards rushed in, but it was too late. The assassins moved faster than thought. 2 guards fell. Then 3 more. Blood and steel filled the room. The Queen pulled her child close. Her heart pounded. She searched for help. That was when he moved. He was not tall. He was not strong like the alien guards. He wore simple armor with a human symbol on the chest. A human. His name did not matter yet. He had been standing near the wall, quiet and unseen. A low-rank guard. Most ignored him. But when the first knife flew toward the child, the human stepped forward. He did not shout. He did not think. He jumped. The knife hit his side. Pain exploded through his body. Still he stood. The assassins laughed. A human? In the royal chamber? Another knife struck his shoulder. Then another deep into his leg. 3 wounds. Blood ran down his armor. The Queen shouted, "Fall back." But the human did not move. He spread his arms wide, standing between the knives and the child. "Not the child," he said. His voice was weak but clear. The assassins attacked together. A knife stabbed his chest. Another cut his back. 5 wounds. The human fell to one knee. His vision blurred. The room spun. He could hear the child crying behind him. That sound kept him awake. He remembered Earth. A small blue sky. A simple promise he once made. Protect the weak. The 6th knife came fast. He turned his body and took it across his side. 6 wounds. The human finally fell. His body hit the floor with a heavy sound. Silence filled the chamber. The assassin stepped forward, smiling. The child was crying louder now. Then the human moved. Slowly, painfully, he pushed himself up. Blood covered the floor beneath him. The assassins froze. A human was not supposed to stand. He grabbed one assassin's leg and pulled. The assassin fell. A guard fired. The sound of blasters filled the room. In seconds, the attackers were dead. The human stood for one last moment. He turned his head toward the child. The child was safe. That was enough. He fell again, this time not moving. Alarm screamed through the palace. Doctors rushed in. Guards surrounded the Queen and her child. No one spoke. They all stared at the human lying in his own blood. "Is he dead?" someone whispered. The Queen stepped forward. Her hands were shaking. She looked down at the human, a low-rank guard. A human, someone everyone ignored. She knelt beside him. Royal law meant nothing in that moment. She placed her hand on his chest. There was a heartbeat, slow, weak, but alive. The Queen looked up, her eyes burning with emotion. "This human," she said softly, "stood when all others fell." The room stayed silent. No one knew it yet, but this night would change the galaxy forever. The palace medical wing was silent. Machines hummed softly. Blue lights moved across white walls. The human lay on the bed. His body was still. Tubes ran from his arms. 6 deep wounds covered his chest and sides. Alien doctors watched the screens in confusion. "This should not be possible," one doctor said. "His body is too weak." Another doctor shook his head. "But he is alive." The Queen stood behind the glass wall. She had not left since the attack. Her child slept in her arms, safe. She looked at the human again. "Who is he?" she asked. A guard stepped forward. "His name is Kane. Human, low-rank palace guard." The queen frowned. A human? Here. The guard nodded. He was assigned 6 months ago. No honors. No medals. The queen said nothing. She watched as the human's chest rose slowly. Hours earlier, Eliur Kane stood at his post near the chamber wall. He had stood there many nights before. No one spoke to him. Alien guards were taller, stronger, faster. They joked together. They trained together. Eliur stayed quiet. He listened. He watched. He learned the palace paths, the sounds, the shadows. Humans were new in the galaxy. Many aliens thought they were weak. Eliur knew this. He had heard the words. Soft, breakable, too emotional. He did not argue. He remembered Earth. A small home, a broken city, a long war. He remembered his mother's voice. Stand when others fall. That was all he had. Back in the medical wing, the doctors worked fast. One wound closed. Then another. The queen's eyes widened. His body is fighting, a doctor said, slowly but strongly. The queen felt something change inside her. 2 days later, Eliur opened his eyes. Light hurt. Pain burned through his body. He tried to move. He failed. A soft voice spoke. Do not move. Eliur turned his head. The queen stood beside him. He froze. I am sorry. Eliur said weakly, I failed to protect the chamber. The queen's eyes filled with shock. Failed, she repeated. She leaned closer. You stood alone. You took 6 knife wounds. My child lives because of you. Eliur swallowed. I only did my duty. The queen studied his face. Humans were strange, broken, but unyielding. News spread fast. Across the palace, across the city, across the stars. A human had stood before royal blood. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Some were angry. A human does not deserve honor, one leader said. He endangered the queen. Others were silent, watching. Fear was growing. That night, Eliur dreamed. He stood in fire. Enemies surrounded him, but he did not run. He never ran. The queen made her decision. She would learn about humans, not their weapons, not their ships, their hearts. She ordered records from Earth. Wars, sacrifice, loss. She read until dawn, and she understood. Humans did not fight because they were strong. They fought because they refused to abandon others. The queen looked at the stars and whispered, This changes everything. Far away, eyes watched Earth with new interest, and some watched with fear, because the galaxy had seen something dangerous, a human who would not fall. The chamber was quiet again, too quiet. The broken doors were still open. Burn marks covered the walls. Blood stained the floor where the human had fallen. Guards cleaned the room in silence. No one spoke about fear, but everyone felt it. The queen stood near the window. Her child played on the floor behind her, safe and alive. She closed her eyes. Every time she did, she saw the same moment. A human stepping forward, arms wide, body shaking, still standing. She turned to her child. You are alive, she whispered. Because of him. The child looked up. He did not run, the child said softly. The queen felt her chest tighten. In the medical wing, Eliur slept. His body was still fighting. Machines beeped slowly. Doctors watched carefully. Any other species would be dead. One said, 6 deep knife wounds. Another replied, humans are different. Inside Eliur's mind, the pain never stopped. He stood in darkness. The knives came again. 1, 2, 3. He felt each strike, but he did not scream. He remembered why he stood. A child behind him, a promise inside him. Not the child, he whispered. The words echoed. Eliur woke with a sharp breath. Pain burned through his chest. He tried to sit up. Strong hands held him down. Easy, a doctor said. You are not healed. Eliur's voice was weak. Did the child live? The doctor paused. Yes. Eliur closed his eyes. That was enough. The queen entered the room. Doctor stepped back. Eliur saw her and tried to move again. She raised her hand. "Rest," she said. He obeyed. "You remember the attack?" she asked. "Yes," Elier said. "I remember the knives." "Why did you step forward?" the queen asked. Elier took a slow breath. "Because someone had to." The queen waited. "My people do not leave children," Elier continued, "even if it costs us everything." The queen studied him in silence. She had ruled worlds. She had commanded fleets. But she had never heard words like these. Outside the room, the council argued. "This human is dangerous," one voice said. "Such loyalty is a threat." Another replied, "Or a weapon." The queen listened from the shadows. They spoke of humans like storms. Unpredictable, unstoppable. That night, the queen returned alone. She placed a small royal symbol beside Elier's bed, a mark of protection. No human had ever received it. "You kept your promise," she said softly. Elier did not wake, but his hand moved, just a little, far from the palace. Ships changed course. Messages were sent. "Observe Earth," they said. "Study humans." Some planned alliances. Others planned war, because 6-knife wounds had done what armies could not. They had changed how the galaxy saw humanity. Elier dreamed again. This time, he stood on a field of stars. The child stood beside him. No knives, no blood, only light. He felt peace. The queen looked out at the stars once more. "One human stood," she whispered, "and the galaxy noticed." She did not yet know what choice she would make, but she knew one thing. Nothing would ever be the same again. The palace hall was filled with council members and high-ranking guards. Everyone had gathered after the attack. The queen stood at the center, her face calm, but her eyes were sharp and alert. All eyes were on her. Whispers spread across the room. "A human saved a child?" someone asked. "Is this possible?" another voice muttered. The doors opened, and Elier was brought in on a medical platform. Pale, wounded, but alive. Gasps echoed through the hall. A human in the royal chamber was unheard of, and now he stood before the council. The queen walked forward slowly. Royal law forbade rulers from kneeling, yet she stopped before him. Then, without hesitation, she lowered herself to one knee. The sound of her kneeling echoed across the hall. Silence fell. No one moved. She placed a gentle hand on Elier's chest. "This heart stood between death and my child," she said. While my guards faltered, he did not. The council members stared, stunned. Some could not believe what they saw. The queen had never bowed to anyone, not to kings, not to generals, not even to the galaxy itself. Yet here she was, kneeling to a human. This human did not fight for power. He did not fight for reward. He fought for what was right. He protected life when all else failed, the queen continued. He chose courage over fear and loyalty over safety. Elier opened his eyes slowly. The hall gasped again. He tried to speak, but the queen raised her hand. "Rest. You have done more than anyone could ask." Outside the palace, word spread quickly. The image of a queen kneeling to a human traveled through recordings and communications. Some were in awe. Others were afraid. Humanity had shown its strength. Later, in private, the queen held her child. "Why did she kneel?" the child asked softly. "Because some lives protect more than crowns," she replied. The child nodded, understanding more than words could say. That night, the queen returned to Elier's side. "You asked for nothing," she said. "That is why you deserve everything." He tried to move, but the pain stopped him. "I only stood," he whispered, "and that is enough." She placed a small royal seal in his hand, a symbol of trust and protection. For the first time, humans were more than allies or servants. They were a force the galaxy had to respect. The stars outside the palace burned brightly. One human had survived. One human had stood when others fell. And the galaxy had noticed. Elier lay in the medical wing, his body still recovering. Machines hummed quietly, monitoring every heartbeat. The wounds were closing, but the pain lingered. Doctors whispered among themselves. They had treated countless species, but none had survived this many knife wounds. The queen watched from a glass wall. She had seen courage before, but never like this. Humans were small, fragile, and yet somehow unbreakable. She stepped into the room. "Elier," she said softly, "do you understand what you have done?" He tried to lift his head. "I only did my duty," he whispered. The Queen knelt beside him. "Duty? You faced death 6 times and still stood. That is more than duty. That is humanity." Elier blinked. Humans were supposed to serve quietly, follow orders, and stay unnoticed. Yet now his survival and his choice had made the Queen pause. Outside the palace, the Galactic Council demanded explanations. Many feared humans. Others were curious. "What makes them different?" some asked. Secret observers began studying humans, try to understand their strange strength. That night, Elier dreamed. He stood on a battlefield, but there were no enemies. The child he had protected stood beside him, laughing unharmed. A warmth filled his chest, stronger than pain, stronger than fear. He realized humans fought not for power or glory, but for love, promise, and loyalty. The Queen spent hours reading reports about Earth. Wars humans had fought, sacrifices they had made, the ways they protected each other. She understood then. Humans survived because they chose to protect, even when it cost everything. That choice was their strength. She returned to Elier's side. "You may be small, weak, and fragile by the galaxy's measure, but the heart of a human is something no weapon can break. You're not just a guard. You are a symbol of what humanity can do." Elier's eyes widened. A symbol? He had only tried to protect a child. He had never thought his actions could matter beyond the palace walls. Far across the galaxy, watchers took notice. Humans were no longer just another species. They were unpredictable, fearless in ways machines and aliens could not calculate. Some feared what humans might do next. Others saw potential for alliance. The galaxy had seen a human who could stand when everyone else would fall. Elier closed his eyes, exhausted. Pain remained, but purpose filled him. Humans were said to be weak, but he knew the truth. Strength was not in size or speed or power. Strength was in the choice to rise, to protect, and to keep promises, even when it cost everything. The Queen whispered to herself as she left the room. The galaxy will remember this night. Humans are not what we thought. They are something more. The stars outside burned bright. A human had survived 6 knife wounds. The galaxy had learned that humans were made of something extraordinary, something no weapon could ever break. The council hall was tense. Leaders from across the galaxy had gathered to hear the Queen's decision. Every eye was on her, waiting for judgment, waiting for orders. The memory of Elier standing between death and her child still lingered in their minds. The Queen walked slowly to the center. "A human has done what no alien could," she began. "He faced death 6 times, and yet he protected life. For this, he deserves more than gratitude. He deserves recognition." Murmurs ran through the hall. Some were shocked. Some were angry. "A human cannot receive honor among us," one leader protested. "It undermines our law." The Queen lifted her hand. "Do not speak of laws when courage stands before you. Today, I have seen what humans are made of. Loyalty, sacrifice, and strength of heart. These are qualities even the strongest warrior may lack." She turned to Elier, who lay resting in the chamber nearby. "Bring him forward," she ordered. Guards quickly moved him into the hall. He looked pale, weak, and almost fragile, yet the hall held its breath. A human, a low-rank guard, now stood in front of the galaxy's leaders. The Queen stepped closer and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Elier Kane, for your courage, your loyalty, and your unbroken spirit, I name you guardian of the royal blood." Gasps echoed across the hall. A human given such an honor had never happened. Leaders whispered among themselves. Some were impressed, some were concerned. The balance of power had shifted without a single weapon fired. The Queen continued, her voice firm. "From this day, humans are no longer merely visitors or allies. They are protectors, equals in courage and symbols of loyalty. Let the galaxy remember what one human can do when he chooses to stand." Elier tried to speak, but the Queen shook her head gently. "No words are needed. Let your actions speak for you. The galaxy will see, and it will remember." Outside the palace, news traveled quickly. Across worlds, humans were now seen in a new light. Some feared their unpredictable bravery. Others admired it. Some began questioning everything they thought they knew about humanity. The child ran to Eliur's side, wrapping tiny arms around him. The queen watched quietly, smiling. He did not fight for honor, she said. He fought because it was right. That is why his reward is greater than any medal or title. Eliur looked up at her, weak but understanding. For the first time, he realized his simple choice, to protect a child, had changed not only his life, but the galaxy's view of humans forever. The queen stepped back. The council was silent. Every leader understood, without a word, that humanity had shown a strength beyond comprehension. This was not just survival. This was legacy. Stars outside burned brightly, reflecting the new path the galaxy had begun to follow. One human had stood alone. One human had changed the way the galaxy would see his species forever. Eliur stood on the balcony of the royal palace, healed but still feeling the echoes of his wounds. The stars stretched across the sky, bright and endless. He looked at the city below, alive and bustling, and thought of the child he had protected. The child laughed and played, unaware of the danger that had almost taken their life. The queen approached him quietly. "Do you understand what you have done, Eliur?" she asked. He shook his head slowly. "I only stood," he whispered. The queen smiled. "And that is why the galaxy now stands with you. Today, humans are no longer seen as weak or fragile. They are a force, a symbol of loyalty and courage. Far away, across the galaxy, ships changed their course. Messages spread to every planet. Leaders who had once doubted humans now reconsidered. Some feared them, others admired them. Every world understood that one human, acting with courage and sacrifice, had shifted the balance of power. Eliur remembered the knives, the pain, and the moment he had fallen 6 times. He remembered the child's cries and the queen's gaze. It was all worth it, not for honor, not for reward, but for a promise kept. Humans had proven something no other species had. That courage was measured not by strength or weapons, but by the choice to protect when all seemed lost. The child ran to him, holding his hand tightly. "You saved me," the child said softly. Eliur knelt, smiling weakly. "And I will always protect you," he replied. The queen watched silently, tears in her eyes. She had ruled the galaxy for decades, but this moment was different. It was history in motion. A human had shown that even the smallest being could change the course of the stars. In the council halls, leaders argued less. Plans were rewritten. Alliances shifted. Humans were no longer underestimated. Across planets, songs and stories began to spread, celebrating the human who had stood against impossible odds. Eliur looked at the horizon. He knew this was only the beginning. Humans had stepped onto the stage of the galaxy, not as weak observers, but as symbols of courage and resilience. One choice, one stand, had inspired a galaxy. The queen placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember, Eliur," she said softly, "one life, one choice can change everything." The stars above shone brighter than ever. On that night, humanity had earned its place in the galaxy. One human had fallen 6 times. Yet in rising, he had lifted the hopes of countless worlds. The day the galaxy change had begun, and no one would ever forget it.